بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وخليله وصفيه وأمينه على وحيه ومصطفاه من خلقه صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the great throne. I ask to accept your fasting and to accept your prayers at night and accept the charity and the sadaqah that you give with regards to the enhancement of ibadah and the blessed month of Ramadan. Many acts of ibadah that the practicing, pious, righteous Muslims are doing and practicing all of the time. All of the time. Making prayer at night, giving charity, feeding an orphan, taking care of widows, sick, elders, things like this. Smiling your brother's face, sitting in the masjid, etc. However, when the month of Ramadan comes, obviously the concept of enhancing or inflating, amplifying what you're normally doing. The Prophet ﷺ, he chose to make the masjid the heart of the community, the center of the lives of the Muslims in Medina. And that's why one of the first things he built, and one of the first things he looked after when he arrived in Medina was building the masjid. So obviously the companions were always in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, learning, studying, planning, discussing their social issues, the things that were around them and surrounding them. Yet and still, there are narrations after the Prophet ﷺ's death that whenever the companions fasted, it says, كانوا أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كانوا صياما جلسوا في المساجد أو جلسوا في المسجد. They would sit in the masjid. They would be in the masjid, meaning more. They were already in the masjid. They were raised spiritually in the masjid. But when Ramadan came, it was even more. So the concept of things that we should be doing, and alhamdulillah, things that many of you have been blessed to do, when the month of Ramadan comes, you want to do more of them. You want to enhance. You want to take it to the next level. So that's something that I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept from you all. Ameen. And allow you to become even better and even greater, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I thank the Imam, Jazakallahu khairan, who always makes it his effort, or always makes it his job to make me and my companion, or companions, to feel welcome when we come here to this masjid every single time. And also makes it his job, takes out of his time to introduce the speech or in the intermission, Salat al-Asr last time, to speak and make sure that there's no ambiguity, that you're welcome here. This is your house, this is your masjid. Alhamdulillah, that's something he does every time. May Allah Azza wa Jalla reward him for that, and may Allah Azza wa Jalla give him the success. What he mentioned, excuse me, with regards to standing, من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا, he who stands in the month of Ramadan, إيمانا واحتسابا, faith and content, or looking forward to Allah's reward, contentness. He who fasts and he who stands the night of Qadr. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to give all three of those things to you all. Ameen. With that being said, the topic of our lecture or my discussion with you is not going to be about Ramadan. It isn't about Ramadan. It isn't about Ramadan. As it was announced, it's pertaining to a very important issue in the deen. An issue that is centered or focused on one point, but it's much more important than that one point. And that's the concept of hijab. Hijab of sisters. Clothing of sisters, our mothers who gave us birth, our wives who protect our secrets and our wealth. Our daughters who will carry on our lineage and our name, maybe even better than our sons. Our sisters who help us, who support us, our aunts, second generation, third generation Muslims, maybe our grandmothers, etc. Obviously in New Jersey, the rich history of Islam here. وهكذا. But it's deeper than that. It's much more about our mothers and our sisters and our daughters and our wives. It's about Islam as a whole. And Imam clearly mentioned with regards to building an Islamic community, enhancing the efforts, complementing the efforts, masjid versus community, and not just being pleased with just having a masjid and running a masjid, which is a challenge in itself, which takes much sacrifice in itself. Easy to look from the outside. When you're on the inside, Imam, administration, board, whatever, just a helper in the masjid, it's a lot of time and effort that's needed to run a masjid and to maintain a masjid. But now to take that masjid, and as we said before, to make that the heart, the central organ of a bigger body, it's a different story now. The heart is the most important organ in the body. But what can the heart do without the lungs? The kidney, or the kidneys, the liver, the spleen, the intestine, all of these different body parts and organs, the heart needs, and they need the heart as well. So the community is to be centered around the masjid. Centered around the masjid. But obviously that's not it. It can't stop there. It can start there, but it can't stop there. It has to be bigger than that. And that's because you don't have to do everything in the masjid. Nor are you allowed to do everything in the masjid. You don't have to do everything in the masjid. And there's certain things that even if you choose to do in the masjid, you can't. Such as buying and selling, which is one of the most important aspects of life. You have to eat. You have to live. You need a bed to rest upon. Where do you make your money? How do you earn a living? Many of us, we're merchants on one way or another, one scale or another. Whether we sell a product or whether we sell a service. These things are not befitting for the masjid. As it states in the hadith, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمْ, he says, whenever you see someone buying or selling in the masjid, فَقُولُوا لَهُ لَا أَرْبَحَ اللَّهُ تِجَارَتَكَ. Then tell them, may Allah make your contract unsuccessful. May Allah make your deal unsuccessful. Make dua against them. Why? Because they're selling haram things? No. Because Allah doesn't want us to seek His rizq. إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمْعَةِ فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. Allah says, no buying and selling when the adhan is made on Jum'ah. That's it. Khalas, put it down. That's best for you if you only but know. فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. Allah says, when the prayer is over, leave the masjid, spread in the land, and seek Allah Azza wa Jall's bounty. Seek His rizq. But in the masjid, different story. At the expense of Jumu'ah, different story. So this is just an example I'm trying to mention of how the masjid being the heart, the central organ, the focal or focus point, it doesn't mean it's the only part. And it's far deeper than that. Our Islam in theory and in practice and in propagation or propagating has to be in our homes, has to be in our places of business, our places of work, has to be on the street, on the sidewalk, the corner, our schools, etc. Anything that we touch should have the Islamic film on it, the trace of it, one way or another, one level or another, one level or another. And that's a community. That's a community. Then obviously living in America, a Western country, a secular, nominal country, there's a list of challenges, a slew of obstacles that lay in front of us and ahead of us. So with that being said, the odds are against us. We've been given or handed a deck of cards in a game that's already been what? So you have to be extra sharp now. Pay more attention, concentrate more, and hide your hand even what? Poker face, they say, right, Sheikh? Because you're playing in a game in which the odds are against you. Building a community, living Islamic in a non-religious land. Not non-Christian land, Jewish religious. Religion is looked down upon. Religious lifestyle is looked down upon. And those who are religious are Jews or Christians or something else. And what type of Jews and Christians are they? And the list goes on and on and on. Those who are Muslims, what type of... cards are stacked against you. So we have to work harder. We have to give more time, more energy, more effort, and we have to have more knowledge, sharper knowledge, to understand what it takes and what's necessary to establish some type of relative Islamic community, living in this environment in which we live. It's difficult. But Allah never said that it was going to be easy. Allah Azza wa Jal, He clearly made a condition and a stipulation for those who fight in His cause and who struggle in His cause. He will support them. وَلَا يَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ. Allah will help those who help Him. And indeed Allah Azza wa Jal, Qawiyyun Aziz. Allah is most powerful, almighty, subhanahu wa ta'ala. All powerful and most mighty. And He gives that power and that might to those who struggle and work hard. So you just think about the challenges that you have with yourself, living Islamically. You think about the challenge that you have with your children, your young children, your teenage children. You think about the challenges that you have between husband and wife, or husband and co-wives or wives, your neighbors, your brothers. This from outside of the bubble, let alone inside of the bubble, when what? Muslims are at each other's throats with poison-tipped daggers at each other's throats, in which they have the time, the energy, the effort, the money to attack other Muslims that are trying to do some good. Perfect? Claiming perfection? No, but it's obvious they're trying to do something positive. So they're trying something positive. Sad reality that we live in. So with that being said, mistakes aren't an option. It's not an option. An underdog can never beat the favorite by making mistakes. It's the law of nature. There is no battle, there is no sport, no game in which the underdog defeated the heavy favorite unless they played an almost, if not perfect game. Everybody understand this concept or not? It's possible to win, but not through what? Errors and blunders and mistakes. It can't be done. It's just impossible. So we have to reflect on this, inshallah ta'ala, with regards to our communities. Is our theory correct? Is our knowledge correct? Is our practice accurate? And are we propagating and pushing it? Do we have the necessary patience? Do we have the necessary vision, the proper direction? And that is directly attached and connected to our topic with regards to cultural practice, traditional practice versus Islamic practice, whether it be about the hijab or other things besides the hijab. Many things that we practice, we do them. We're physically practicing them. We're not lacking effort. But oftentimes our theory is wrong from the get-go. What we think, what we believe is incorrect. Or it's partially correct. A part of it. There's a hadith that says this, no doubt. There is a ruling in this and that, but it's not complete. Or we have the proper theory. We know what we're supposed to do. We know what we have to do. We know how to win the game. But we don't have the necessary courage to rise to the occasion and ignore the pain, ignore the fatigue. Well, how can that? Everybody understand this? So this is very crucially important. You look at the history of Islam in America, the history of Islam on the East Coast, etc. You look at the different waves and the different movements that came and went, and some of them still remain. I'm sure many of you brothers that are much older than me, not read it in a book like me, or seen it in a documentary, or talked to an older brother or a family member, but you actually lived through that movement. Came in, went out, another movement, so on and so forth. And many of you older sisters as well. And some of the younger sisters were raised, second generation, in that movement. And then when the movement fell, when the movement crashed, when it was finished, what's next? It's reality. And you look at history, and history is one of the greatest teachers that Allah has ever given us. History is one of the greatest teachers that Allah has blessed us with. That's why when you read the Quran from the beginning to end, it's full of history. Allah always speaks on history. Juz Amma, the part of the Quran that every Muslim starts off by memorizing. Those of us who've been blessed to memorize the entire Juz, or those of us who only know Al-Ikhlas, Falaq, Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Qul A'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas, Wal Asr, Wat-Tini wa Zaytun. But Juz Amma, that most Muslims, if not all Muslims, have memorized some of, and the surahs or the surahs that the Prophet ﷺ would often recite in the salah, is full of history. Amma yatasa'aloon to Qul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas is full of history. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He talks about the previous nations. He talks about the people who came before us, the prophets who came before us, the messengers who came before us, the Jews, the Christians. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, oftentimes He speaks about events in the prophet's life, which to us are pieces of what? History. Qul a'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq. That's pertaining to what? The prophet's life, who lived 1400 years ago. That is now a piece of what? History. What happened to the prophet? What did they try to do to the prophet? What they did to the prophet? And what was the cure? Qul a'udhu bi Rabbin Nas. There's a reason why that surah was sent down. It's a reason why that is a dua, a prayer. It's a reason why that is a remedy. They tried to harm the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah, He speaks about the Thamud. He speaks about Salih, the she-camel of Salih. That's what? That's history. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi'ad. That's history. So the Quran is full of history. And the reason why it is because history teaches us things. But the average person chooses to ignore history or interpret it according to how you wish to interpret it. So history has shown us in America is that there have been many calls and many movements, many dawahs that have come. And all of them on one scale or another has some type of good and positivity with them. On one scale or another, one level or another. This dawah came and it focused on this, which was needed at the time, or it was good, but it was lacking in many other things. And then this dawah came, which did the exact opposite of the original one. It focused on the opposite, but at the expense of the other things that were needed and necessary as Islam, let alone masjid, let alone community life. I need not to go into examples. I'm sure many of you know them. You can think about them right now on the top of your head. This was a part of the social necessities this dawah focused on. But the spiritual, the knowledge, the fear, the correct, it didn't have no, it rather was misguided. And then another group comes and says because they were misguided, because they spread principles of disbelief in this and that, that's the only thing that we're going to talk about. And that's what Islam is. That's what our movement and our call is. But the necessary things of society, of household, of community are never ever what? Spoken on. Rather, those who wish to speak on them and talk about them, hatred is shown to them. Enmity is shown to them. And then there are groups in the middle, here and there, and that. And wallah, I'm not talking about one group. And I'm not talking about one movement. I'm not talking about one dawah. The shoe is a shoe. Take it, fit it, whatever dawah you want it to be. This is the reality. Now, the concept of history, brothers, that I'm trying to get into is that if you look at these calls and these groups, you're going to find the glitch, the error, in one of those three principles: theory, practice, propagating. They spent money They gave a lot of time, a lot of energy in propagating, but the theory wasn't right. Or the practice wasn't right. The imam, I'm not talking about the imam of this masjid, this is an example. The imam of the masjid has been an imam for 40 years, 30 years, 50 years. Look at his children, his daughters, his sons. Not one or two, which can happen. The majority of his offspring are not even practicing the deen. They don't even want to be Muslim or recognized as Muslims. Whether they want to be divas or gangsters or whatever they want to be. And he was giving the khutbah, giving the talk, giving the speech, propagating. But the practice in the household with the children, or the exact opposite. The theory was incorrect. Well, how can that? And the worst of all is when there's a mixture, a combination. Some of the theory is good, or a good amount of it is good. There's a good amount of practice, and there's a good amount of propagating. But now it's a mixture. And when you start mixing things, it becomes what? Every time you mix another element in your oil or your stew, it gets what? Even more and more? Less authentic, and it's getting more complicated. It's more complicated now. Simple stock, chicken stock, right, Sheikh? Now you start adding this and putting this, is what? It's not that simple. It's not that easy. And that's what we live in right now today. With regards to hijab and other than the hijab. We've learned these hadiths about hijab. We've heard these fatwas about hijab. We've been to this country, we've seen this about hijab. But there are other hadiths that we didn't hear about and we didn't read. Or the improper understanding. Or too much application. Or too little application. And which places in which Allah Azza wa Jal gave us ease and we want to be hard. Or in places in which we are to be hard. This is the rule. There is no opinion on this issue of hijab. But I want to be what? Easy and simple. Because of my or their or her or his what? Culture and tradition. It works on both sides, guys. Everybody understand this? It's obligatory for sisters to wear all black. They have to wear all black. With the pink khimar, you're a sinner. With the brown hijab, you're a sinner. You can't wear nothing but black because of someone's tradition or culture. Everybody understand this? Or on the opposite side, you flip it now. I'm not going to wear loose clothes and a long dress and cover my charms because that's not my culture. I'm not an Arab. And I'm not dressing like one. I don't want to be one. It's the reality. And then the confusion comes, not when you have people that are just blindly following Arab culture and it says this is how we should dress. It's the land of the Muslims, the land of the ulama. Fight. Or another person says, I'm just sticking to my culture. I don't know much. This is what I'm going to do. The problem comes when these two elements are mixed with a little bit of knowledge and a few sound bites and a little bit of jargon, and then well, that does kind of make sense, doesn't it? Women do have to wear black because, and then we have the mixture and the confusion. We have the confusion in which we live in. Everybody understand this? And it's very simple, it's very easy, and that is there are things which may be cultural norms and cultural practice of Arab people, but it's clearly supported and mandated in Quran and Sunnah. And then there are other things which are major practices of Arab people that not only are they not mandated and mentioned in Quran and Sunnah, it may be a prohibition. And the same applies to American culture. Black American culture, white American culture, Hispanic or Latino American culture, Southern culture, and the list goes on. Things may be a bit different now, but especially back in the day, before I was born, really back in the day, the southern states of America were known for what? Nah, not that. We won't talk about that. Not negative. Even in the times of slavery, it was known as, they were famous for something. Religious practice, no question. The Bible Belt. And other things as well, such as, it's not what I want. It's not the answer that I want. Something else. Manners. Getting a little closer. Lukewarm. Say southern what?
Hospitality.
Hospitality. Southern hospitality. Everybody understand this? Come over, you're our guest, eat, drink, relax, etc. So that is, now I'm talking about overseas in the Middle East now. I'm talking about our country. You said the birth of a nation, right? The fabric, our history here in this country. Southern hospitality. That is a cultural norm or religious practice. Which of the two?
Cultural norm.
Which of the two? It's cultural norm. So if someone accepted Islam and they came from Alabama or Louisiana or Georgia or South Carolina, and then they read the hadiths, he who believes in Allah on the last day shall honor his guest. He who believes in Allah on the last day should this. Ibrahim honored his guest, the guest, so on and so forth. And they had a cultural norm, and they read the dalil for it. Is there a problem in that now? Rather, it's light upon what? Upon light. Before Islam, I was like this, and after Islam, I was what? It was like that. What's the problem? I treated my guests honorably when I was a Christian, and now I'm treating my guests honorably what? A Muslim. But it's going to be even better now. And it's going to be refined. No wasting, no extravagance, no showing off. And now it's a religious practice. Everybody clear this or not? So this is just an example of our country. We're talking about nothing about the Middle East now, because this is the problem. People say, why? What? We're talking here. Facts of our country. Of a cultural norm that is also a religious what? Practice. And there's no different than overseas, in which there are many cultural norms of Middle Eastern people or African people or Asian people, but the focus on the Middle East right now, that Islam had acknowledged, and Islam had enforced, and Islam had trimmed the rough edges. So, does it make sense for a person to say, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to wear this, I'm not going to practice this, because that's what Arabs do? In this instance, you can't what? You can't say that. You can't what? You can't say that in this instance. But another instance in which one or two scenarios we have. The first scenario, brothers and sisters, is this something that is not supported by Islam, nor is Islam against it. And the second scenario is something that Islam has clearly what? Denounced. So that which Islam has denounced, we have no difference of opinion on that. Don't do that. Such as subjugating women, for example. Looking at women as pieces of property. Allah mentioned in the Quran, لا يحل لكم أن ترثوا النساء كرها. Allah says you cannot inherit women against their will. You can't inherit a woman against her will. She's married to a man. That man is killed on the battlefield. He dies, and her brother automatically takes her. Can't do that. Muslim, Jew, you can't do that. It's impermissible, and that's a custom that they had. That was a traditional cultural norm. So we don't even have to discuss that. That's crystal clear. But now there's something which Islam has not supported nor went against. That is the issue in which one says, if you want to do it, then what? Do it. And if you don't want to do it, then what? Don't do it. And stick with your what? Culture and traditional practice. Everybody clear on this or not? Overseas, when someone comes over, a guest comes over, it's their tradition, Amir, it's their culture to feed the guest what? What type of meat, Abu Muhammad, would they feed a guest, an esteemed guest? Red meat. Has to be what? Has to be red meat. Gotta be lamb, goat, camel, something. And it'll be offensive to offer your guest poultry or fish. It'll be offensive. Be looked down upon. Is there a hadith that states that you have to give your guest red meat? Or you don't know about it? Which one?
I don't know.
Big difference. Big what? I don't know of any, or there's what? There's none. See? Sharp, extra sharp, right? Tayyib. We don't know of a hadith that says that you have to or should what? Give your guest red meat. There are hadiths, there are verses in the Quran, first and foremost, there are hadiths that talk about slaughtering, udhiyah. What are the animals that Allah mentioned in the Quran to be slaughtered? What hadiths are mentioned to be slaughtered? Bahimatul an'am, livestock, including what? Camels, cows. Why can that? Not chickens. You can't slaughter a chicken for udhiyah. You can't slaughter a turkey. You can't give the most expensive seafood and fish. You can't do that. But with regards to a guest, honoring your guest, does the Quran and Sunnah say that you have to give them red meat, or you should give them red meat? Does it say that? Does it state that directly and frankly? Or it's just things mentioned, slaughtering this animal, Ibrahim, but it doesn't say that you what? So therefore, in my culture, where I come from, my state, my city, when an honored or esteemed guest comes over, we offer him seafood. Crab, lobster, shrimp, this is that. This is the prime thing to give someone. That's the prime thing to give someone. So the confusion comes in, and not understanding and not knowing and not having a proper fiqh with regards to the hijab or any other issue. If the Quran and Sunnah state that a woman has to wear black, then that's the color that she has to wear, regardless of what the Arabs do or don't do. And you have no option or no opinion. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَنْ يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. Allah says, and when Allah and His Messenger decide on an affair, it's unbefitting for the believer to have any view or opinion. And those who disobey Allah Azza wa Jalla and His Messenger have clearly gone astray. The Quran clearly states that. But that's the condition that Allah and His Messenger what? Actually decide on an issue. So if the proofs state that a woman has to wear all black, then that is what she has to wear. And it's unbefitting for her to say, I'm not wearing black because Arab women wear black. That's ignorance. Where would Islam be today if they took that position? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. Only Muhammad is calling to it. And if the Quran and the Sunnah don't black, no mufti, no student of knowledge can come and say that you what? Have to wear black. And that's exactly what has happened in America and on the East Coast. You have to do this. Because it's a virtue, because people overseas, because. And that, unfortunately, has pushed many sisters away from coming to the actual truth. And has left a bad taste in the mouths of many because of two things. Number one, or three things: lack of proper knowledge, lack of proper understanding, and harshness and extremism. It's one thing to be extreme, Yahi, upon the truth. This is the dalil. It clearly states that. And I'm not patient. I don't give you the necessary advice. I'm beating you in the head with a hammer. But what I'm actually saying is what? It's true. Grow your beard, Akhi. Grow your beard. Fear Allah. Grow your beard. Fear Allah, Akhi. Grow your beard. I say that every time I see you. Every time I encounter you. Grow your beard, Akhi. Harsh or not? Harsh. What I'm saying, right or wrong? But it's still wrong because I'm being overly harsh. But what I'm saying is what? The truth. That's one scenario. The next scenario and the next problem is by me being harsh, pressing overkill on something that actually isn't true. Or it isn't accurate, or it isn't the absolute truth. Something that it isn't even right from the get-go. And that is made an example of me saying, fear Allah, sister, wear black. Fear Allah, wear black. Don't come in this masjid if you're not wearing black. What's wrong with you? Wear black. It's harshness and it's wrong. And that is the ultimate blow that pushes the people away. I don't want to be involved with sunnah, this, that, because of they're harsh. And they don't even realize not only they're harsh, but they're actually what? Wrong at the same time. Everybody understand this? So, the cultural norm that Arabs practice, that is supported by the Kitab and the Sunnah, we should what? We should do. The cultural norm that isn't supported by the Quran and Sunnah, by the Arabs, and Islam denounces it, we what? The cultural norm and practice to the Arabs that isn't for or against. There's nothing against the reported in Quran and Sunnah, then what's the ruling on that? If you want to, and if what? That's simple. Easy. You wear thobe, alhamdulillah. I wear pants. My pants are above my ankles. My odor is not exposed. The pants that I have on. This is what I want to wear. This is my culture. Not butts. Tell you. Beard is a whole different story. May Allah make you successful. Beard is a whole different story. Because why? the beard, we have clear what? Proof in text. It's a religious practice now, no longer cultural norm anymore. Everybody understand this? This is how we mix things up. Oranges and apples, mixing them up. Everybody clear on this? And the student of knowledge, the da'iyah, a scholar, a person of knowledge, a person who has some type of benefit, he has to be the furthest of the people from mixing things and jumbling things together. He has to, or she has to have the ability to mentally decipher and splice things up. This goes here, this goes there, this hadith, this ayah, this statement, Ibn Abbas. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't speak and you shouldn't talk. And if you do talk and do speak with a little bit of knowledge or a little bit of understanding or a little bit of practice, or I was overseas and this and that, and you add harshness to it, now it's in a violent explosion. And that is, the children don't want to practice, the sisters don't want to come to the masjid, and people say, I don't want to do this because Arabs, this and that, so on and so forth. It's a problem. But there's no Muslim that learns the Quran and the Sunnah in a true, pure manner that would turn away from them. It's impossible. You may not be able to practice it. The brother just said, I've been trying for how long? 20-something years. The pants or the beard? The beard. Do you reject the beard? Do you hate it? Difference. And the same applies to many sisters with regards to hijab. She says, I know I'm supposed to wear different clothes. I know I'm not the best Muslim. I understand that. I know my hijab needs to be tuned a little bit. But she never rejects and she never looks down upon the sisters that are covered all the way up. But the sisters in which these incorrect things or a mixture of correct and incorrect has been thrown down their throats, that's a different story. I'm not wearing that. I don't want to dress like that. And if you think this is extremism, then go overseas to the lands of the Arabs. You'll find many people that refuse to dress in a religious way because of the negative stigmas that come with it. All religious people are harsh, violent. They don't smile. They don't laugh. They don't give anyone any handshakes. They look down upon people. Am I making this up on here? Am I exaggerating? Is this from my deviance? Many people, you sit with them, you ride in a cab with them, they'll offer you something, they're nice, beautiful people. And the beard comes up or the foe comes up and it says, well, wallahi, this happened and that happened and so on and so forth. So this is the groundwork of our talk today, guys, is that there are certain things that we have to do, and there are certain things that we should do, and there are certain things that we're allowed to do and allowed what? Not to do. Everybody clear on this or not? There are certain things which are tradition or cultural practice of Arabs or black people in America, whoever, whatever they are, that are clearly supported by the Kitab and the Sunnah. And there are things which are clearly denounced and looked down upon by the what? The Quran and the Sunnah. And last but not least is the optional box. If you want to do it, do it. And if you don't want to do it, then what? You don't have to do it. It's just that simple. Everybody got this or not? But don't speak about the next person for doing it. For choosing to join it. Why do you wear a thobe? Why do you wear a dress? It's not even Arab. The Persians brought the thobe, they say. The Prophet never had a full thobe like this. You live in America, why are you wearing a dress? This and that. That's not from the culture of your people. One says, I like to wear it. I feel religious. I feel pious. I feel clean. It's comfortable. It covers my odor. It keeps me out of the bar, out of the club. It keeps me from cracking on this girl because of how I'm dressed. It keeps me in this. Wait, that best. And no cab driver or any Muslim from a foreign country can say anything negative about you because it's optional. But the moment you say you have to wear a thobe in a specific style, with button, pin, pockets, this and that, now you're going to have a clear problem. You're going to have a clear what? A clear problem. Because he says, in my country, we wear this. And in that country, they wear what? Everybody understand this or not? Last but not least, before we get into what we're going to get into, specifically about the hijab, is that talking about the movements of Islam or Islamic movements in America, you got to understand something, is that a movement is always attached to something else. Movements don't come detached from all things. It's always connected to something else. A movement must be attached to some other ism or int or some other suffix or prefix. This movement is attached to culture. This movement is attached to social problems, political problems, so on and so on and so on and so forth. Everyone understand this or not? And if you look at the movements in Islam and the dawahs of Islam, there hasn't been a movement except that it was attached to one of those things. And that's why you have Muslims who accepted Islam in 1960 and accepted Islam in the year 2000 or 2010, dress differently, speak differently, wear different types of oils, have different types of foods, and have different types of English translations. This book, Qazi Publications, Pakistan. These are the only books that you can find during this time. Years later, this dawah, this movement, all the translations came from the UK. This is Yusuf Ali, Marmaduke Pickthall. And then we have what? Mohsen Khan, the noble, not the noble Quran, just the noble. Pass me that noble. Huh? Do you think that's an accident? You came from a generation, you learned about a dawah, so you wear a Saudi thobe. A Saudi thobe. But this brother Akbar, he accepted Islam in the 50s. He doesn't wear Saudi thobe. Nope. Maybe sometime in the 50s, okay. In the 70s, brother Abdul Mutakabbir, what does he wear? Shawa kameez, exactly. And a turban, white turban. This brother, he's not Middle Eastern, he's not foreign, he's Abdul Mutakabbir is what? A big brother. And he has on a shawa kameez, khuf, turban, and kuhul. Why? Big one, big misr. Why? Because the dawah which he learned about Islam and practiced Islam was attached to a what? A culture. And go example. Everybody understand this or not? Some of those things were a part of the sunnah, using the miswak, no doubt. So on and so forth. And there are other things which were cultural norms of Pakistan or India. Cultural norms of Saudi Arabia. This is the preferred clothing that they like to wear. For one reason or another. White, black, red checkered scarf, etc. And there's a reason why they wear a red checkered scarf as well. Cultural reason, and a social reason, and a political reason. Which we're not going to get into right now. Read about the Shimab. You'll be shocked what you find. It's a reason. So the point is that a dawah is always going to be attached to something else. Everybody clear on this or not? It's always going to be attached to what? It's not an accident why I'm dressed like this. My attire is from a specific region. That's why I studied, that's why I learned, that's why Brother Akbar, Brother Abdul Mutakabbir, Sister Salima, and the list goes on. There's reasons why they have different types of clothing. Everybody understand this or not? Make sense, Amir? Everybody clear on this or not? So with that being said, there isn't going to be any dress code for men or for women in any dawah or any movement except that it's going to fall under one of those categories that we mentioned. Quran and Sunnah supports it, bang. Quran and Sunnah is against it, bang. Quran and Sunnah isn't for or against it, you do you. And deeper than that, there's certain commandments of the Quran and the Sunnah which are inexplicit. Inexplicit. The general rule is there, and the specific explicit practice of it is left up to what? Your culture. How you want to do it. Like we said about food, honor your guest. Whether you give him the head of a camel, crack it open, put the brains on the rice, huh? Or whether you give a what? A steamed lobster. Everybody clear on this or not? Based off of what? Your culture. But the most important thing is that you honor your guests. That's what the Quran and Sunnah clearly state. Now, if the Quran and the Sunnah explicitly mention something about red meat, then it's no longer an issue of what? Option. It is still Arab culture, but now I have to what? He who feeds his guests must feed him lamb. Hadith party. Now it's my job to do what? Submit as a servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not use my brain and my mind and think and say this and say that. Everybody understand this? Sisters and brothers? It's applicable aspect of life. If the Quran and the Sunnah say that a woman cannot wear pink, then she can't wear pink. If the Quran and the Sunnah says that she can wear pink, then she what? Can wear pink. If the Quran and the Sunnah say that the sister's clothing has to be loose, then it has to be loose. The style, the fabric, the color, the design is left what? It's left to the servant. And no one can say that you can or cannot do it. Everybody clear on this. It's just that simple. If it's that simple, you may ask, why we have so much confusion, right? If it's that simple and that clear, why doesn't everyone else say it and break it down simply as this? But it is that simple. All right, tight. So, with regards to the hijab, sisters, before we get started, and brothers as well, and as we've been promoting for many years now, walillah these issues are never to just be learned by one half or one sex. These issues always need to be learned by both sides. The rulings of hijab should be learned by men and women. And that's because even if you don't have on a hijab, you have a daughter, or you're going to have daughters, you have a wife or wives, you have quote-unquote women folk. What did he say? Protect your what? Keep them away from your what? Don't let your women folk listen to this speaker. You have some type of what? Women folk. And even if you didn't, you're on a train going to work, or you work construction, or whatever the case may be, someone walks up to you and says, you look like a Muslim, you got a red beard. Is it obligatory for me to cover up? This is my girlfriend, she want to take her shahada too. Where can we buy those type of clothes? So on and so forth. You have to what? Have some type of what? General understanding. And vice versa. And what? And vice versa. As a woman, it's incumbent upon you to know the basics of the etiquettes of a Muslim man's dress. Even though you're not a man, you're a woman. But you have to know the basics, and if you know a little more, then that's even better. Because you have a husband who may forget. You have a husband who may become ignorant or heedless. You have sons that you have to raise. Well, how can that? A brother, a cousin, or someone that you encounter. Someone what? That you encounter. So Muslim men are not allowed to wear tight clothes. Muslim men are not allowed to wear pure silk. Muslim men are not allowed to have their pants beneath their ankles unless it's extremely cold or raining and you work outside. A condition like this. Some scholars say Muslim men are not allowed to wear pure red. It can't be solid red. These socks has to be broken up. Well, how can that? You have to know the basic things like this. Everybody understand this or not? So, when we get into what a woman can wear and what a woman cannot wear, then there are different ways of doing it. One of the ways of doing it is a process of elimination. Excluding things that she can't wear. She can't do this, she can't do that, she can't do that. What's the benefit in doing it like that? A Muslim woman cannot wear tight clothes outside. A Muslim woman cannot have perfume outside. A Muslim woman cannot wear sheer clothes outside, etc. What's the point of saying can't? What's the wisdom in that, Akhi? Process of elimination. What's the benefit of that? What do we get out of that? Reminder. What's the benefit in that? Tremendous wisdom. La tamamnu hijaba. What's the benefit in this? It's a tremendous wisdom in this. And there are many verses and hadiths that give us this stop. When I say you can't, that proves that everything else is what? Lawful game. Don't do this, don't do that. A general, he's laid besiege to a town. Back in the day, history, read about history of warfare, siege. Now the castle wall has been breached. His soldiers have been killed fighting. They want to go inside the city. What does he tell them? Don't kill this person. Don't rape this person. Don't plunder this. That means what?
Everything else is good.
Tafaddal. Have fun. It's reality. Do whatever you want, not these things. That is far easier. That's far more motivational in saying you can't have this, you can do this, you can't take this spoil of war, you can't take this person captive. You've put restrictions on them, limiting the things, instead of limiting the things that they can't do, which proves that everything else is what? There's a word of a difference. Everybody understand this or not? When the Prophet ﷺ, he was asked, Hadith Abdullah ibn Umar in the Sahih, ماذا يلبس المحرم? He says, what is the muhrim to wear? The man asked him, what is the muhrim to wear? When you make Hajj or Umrah, what are you supposed to wear? And this hadith here, before we get into anti-Muhammad, is deep. Because it goes to show and prove the theory that we just laid down. Is that the Arabs before Islam made Hajj and what? Umrah. The pagan Arabs before Islam, they knew about what? Hajj and Umrah. But Islam did what? Acknowledged it, number one. That's the first step. Before refined it and purified it, they did what? Acknowledged that custom. And then it did what? Refined it. It's little, and it purified it of the bid'ah. that wasn't from Ismail. So he knew about the concept of Hajj and Umrah and Ihram, but he didn't know the details and the specifics. So it says, what is a muhrim to wear? What did the Prophet ﷺ say that muhrim should wear? Didn't say that in this hadith. He didn't answer the man, he didn't give him the answer that he wanted. What did he say to him?
Cover his naked.
Never said that, not in this hadith. Muhrim cannot wear this. Muhrim cannot wear that. Muhrim cannot. In other words, your ihram can be any color, any style, any way that doesn't fall into the things that I've what? Made prohibited. Everybody clear on this or not? And as you study in the books of fiqh, the things which are considered to be najis, things that are considered to be impure. And you never study in the book of fiqh, kitab al-tahirat, pure things. It's only the what? Impure things. Because that limits them, and that shows you that everything else besides that is what? It's pure. Everybody understand this? So there's a tremendous Islamic wisdom here. Everybody got this or not? So therefore, it's just that simple with regards to the hijab and any other issue in the deen about Islam. Now, before we get started, how do the scholars of Islam come up with these conditions? A Muslim woman's hijab has to have these conditions. It must be like, where did they get this from? Quran and Sunnah. So there's a hadith stating every condition? That's the question. Or even deeper than that. Let's say there is a hadith or an ayah to support every condition. No problem. Are there any other conditions? Why have they only mentioned 5 or 6 or 3 or 10 or 14 or this and that? Why? Maybe they skipped some. Maybe they missed some. Everybody understand this question I'm asking? Everybody understand my question? How do we know they didn't miss or skip? If I asked you right now, how many continents are there? What would you say? 7 continents. First one is Europe, Africa, Asia, Antarctica, Australia, North and South America. That's 7 continents. Are there any other continents besides those 7? No. Only 7. How do you know there are only 7? Geography, science. So the people who deal with that science are geographers. What did they do? How did they discover only 7?
Studied maps of the land.
Studied maps, or before the maps, they did what?
Travel.
They went around, and they did what? They searched and they looked and they searched, they searched and they looked, they searched and they looked. And after searching and looking and traveling, they came out with only 7. After years of study, years of surveying, years of discovering, years of this and years of that, they said we've only discovered what? 7 continents. And now the maps, after the surveying and the studying, the books, education, how many continents are there? 7. There may be more than 7. Or maybe there are only 6. Maybe the modern maps or the globes are inaccurate. But the chances of all of these scholars searching and researching and looking and digging and delving and scooping up, in most cases that number is going to remain what? Accurate. There are only 7 continents based off of looking and searching, investigating for years with a great amount of skill. And that's what we have in our Islam. So the scholars of Islam, they looked into the Quran, the entire Quran, and they looked into the hadiths, all of them that they came across. And they looked into what the companions said and did. And after that long study and research, they concluded that the conditions for a Muslim woman's hijab are of kada number. 6 of them, 5 of them, 7 of them. No more and no what? No less. I don't have to do that. I don't have to implement this condition. It doesn't say it in the Quran. I don't have to do that, so on and so forth. No one is going to say that about the 7 what? Continents. I never saw Australia. How do I know it's real? I've never been to Antarctica. I never been to South America. I never been to Asia, so on and so forth. Because those people who have that knowledge and that experience, they did what? And they came with the conclusion that there are only, how many? 7 continents. And the same applies to Salah, Hajj, fasting, Zakat, conditions of Shahada, so on and so forth. Everybody clear this or not? So the scholars of Islam, they say there are 7 conditions, 7 requirements for a Muslim woman's hijab. If she fulfills them, then she has successfully implemented the commands of Allah in the Quran. And if she infringes or violates one of those conditions, let alone all of them, then she had what? She hasn't implemented what? Allah's command. She hasn't implemented what? Allah's command. Everybody turn this or not? Where do these conditions come from? Is the hadith that states that all in one? No. Just like the what? 7 continents. They were discovered. They were documented. And this is it. This is the conclusion. Only 7. Everybody turn this or not? So therefore there are conditions that a Muslim woman must fulfill for her hijab to be considered Islamic and for it to be considered proper. Then obviously, with regards to these conditions, whether they're 7 or whether they're 8, I said 7, and that's what I want to stick to. There are going to be issues and details of those conditions which are going to be relative, from person to person, time to time, place to place. Everybody with me? They're going to be relative. In this country, this is what it means, loose. And in another country, this is what it means, loose. Based off of the time and the place. Just like there are 7 continents, how many states are there? Or 52? How many territories are there? Peninsulas. The small details are going to be what? From person to person. Some scholars may say this is accurate, and some may say no, it's not that big. Well, how can that? But they're going to generally agree that there's a continent called Africa. There's a continent called Europe. But Germany isn't really that big in the real map. France is not like that. Portugal is smaller, so on and so forth. But they're going to agree that there's a large body called what? Europe. Everybody understand this? It's no different when it comes to our hijab. Everybody got this? All the sisters with me? Inshallah, everybody with me? Brothers with me? Inshallah. Khayr, inshallah. The first condition is what? What's the first condition? Has to cover the aura. That's lukewarm. I need something hot. Steaming hot, scalding hot. Loose. So I'm the first one. I can wear a loose scarf. The sister can wear a loose scarf on her neck. Then the rest of her body is naked. Getting closer, lukewarm. Loose can't be the first one. Think about it logically. Loose can't be the first one. It's important, but it's not the first. The first thing obviously is going to be what? Not the odor. That's still lukewarm. She has to cover everything. Except for what Allah and His Messenger say except. And don't use the word odor or modesty. Everything has to be covered as the default. As the what? That's the starting point. Covering is the asl, not uncovering. Everything must be covered up. That includes what, guys? Everything. I can't see nothing on you, nothing. Unless it's been an exception. That's the first condition. So, with that being said, a woman could walk out of her house wearing a what? Based off of the first condition, wearing a what? A ski suit. A ski suit. Gloves, goggles. You can't see nothing, even if it's skin tight. But what is covered? There you go. Except for that which has been allowed to be exposed. Everybody clear this or not? And a ski suit is what? It's not tight. No. This is tight. Ski suit is what? Thank you. Thank you. culture, our language, skin tight. But everything is covered. Everybody understand this? Unless the people, the experts of skiing say the weather, you can, expose a little bit of your face or so on and so forth. Clear this or not? Everything has to be what? Covered. Loose, a color, a smell, a fragrance. We didn't get that. We didn't get there yet. It has to be what? Everything has to be what? Covered. Unless, ... Number 2, logically, loose, that it can't be tight. And just because it's loose doesn't mean it covers everything. A woman can wear a loose shirt or a loose dress. Her feet are out, it shows her body, so on and so forth. But it's loose. So covering everything, number 1, except that which the Quran and the Sunnah say doesn't have to be covered up. Afterwards, it can't be what? Can't be tight. It has to be loose. So the ski suit is now obsolete. Everybody clear this or not? But it doesn't mean that the sister can't have on a nice decorative dress. Floral or whatever type of pattern plaid. It's nice, it's decorative, it's fancy, it's elegant. It covers her whole body and it's loose. But the fabric, the style, the tailoring of the garment in itself is what? No, we didn't get there yet. It's attractive by accident or intentionally. It's made to bring what? It's made to bring attention. Everybody clear this or not? If a woman wanted to sneak up on someone, let's say her husband, she found her husband cheating on her. She wanted to sneak up on him in the kitchen and stab him with a steak knife. What type of shoes would she wear? High heel shoes? This is honestly, would she wear 6-inch stilettos? Why not? They make what? They make noise. By accident though. They would never make shoes to make noise. That doesn't make any sense. Right or wrong? The shoes have been designed to do what? To do what? They've been made to make noise. They've been designed to do what? To make noise. When you're in the kitchen shake, you not have on certain shoes, non-slip. They're made to do what? They're made not to slip. And these boots are made to keep you warm. And these boots are made to make you feel a certain way. Feel rough and tough with these boots on. These boots are made to be elegant and attractive. Well, how can that? So the garment itself cannot be zina. It can't be a means of beauty in itself. Natural beauty, natural adornment that Allah has allowed His slaves to have, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. And obviously that word in itself, beauty, is going to be a what? It's going to be relative from person to person. Certain cultures, certain societies, a person may say, that is attractive. And a person may say in Elizabeth, New Jersey, no, it's not. It's a simple blue kimar. Clear this or not? Did the Quran and the Sunnah send down specific legislation of what is zina specifically? In every issue, in every detailed thing? No, it hasn't. But in general, it is laid in. There's how many continents? 7. How many countries, or how many cities are there in Australia? What's the capital? This, that. Details not for everything. But there's a continent, it's called what? Australia. Everybody clear on this? So the garment cannot be made to be a what? In itself. The shoes are made to do what? Bring attraction. They're made to make noise. They're made to make you taller and walk a certain way. And these shoes are made to be smooth, quiet, silent. These shoes are orthopedic, comfortable. Everybody clear on this or not? The next condition is that it has to be what?
I just got a question. So it sounds like earlier, it ain't to be beautiful. Because some people would take that like, oh, why would it supposed to be ugly?
Clear. You want to get there. Is it made to be ugly? Does a woman have to be ugly? Or with regards to fragrance, do you have to stink? Doesn't mean that. And we clearly stipulated this, but perhaps it was too subtle. We said the beauty that Allah has allowed His slaves to enjoy. That was the stipulation for that. A specific zina that everyone has. Meaning, you leave the house, common sense, common culture, is to look presentable. Look presentable. A sister can have on all black, blue, this and that. It's not fancy, it's not this. And she looks what? Presentable. Let's make an example of the beard. You know brothers with big beards or not? Some brothers have really big beards. And then you find someone in the train station who's a quote-unquote bum. It's a bum. Whatever type of bum they are, on drugs, mentally ill, whatever the case may be. This bum, quote-unquote, has a real big beard. Right or wrong. And the people, they look at the bum as being unclean, unhygienic, uncouth, etc. And then there's a brother who's walking through the train station with a big beard. And no one thinks, accuses him, or has any second guess that he's clean, presentable, handsome, dapper, etc. And they both have a big beard. It's a way that you present yourself. And the same applies to a hijab. You don't have to be dirty and stinking and ugly to have a modest hijab. Everybody clear on this? And anyone who goes to that extreme, then they don't understand Islam or life. They don't understand deen or what? Or dunya. Everybody clear on this or not? Okay, so now our sister, she has on full long gown or dress that's covering everything. It's not made to be an attraction. It's not tight, but it's see-through. I can see her neck and her hair through this gown. I can see her shoulders, her arms, and anything else through this gown. Right or wrong? That's cool, right? Why isn't it cool? We didn't mention that condition yet. Based off of the condition that we mentioned, that's like what? That's acceptable. Number one, it has to cover everything. You have a thin screen. It covers the window. Right or wrong? It's not tight. It's not made to be an attraction, but the problem is that it remains what? See-through. Everybody clear this? So it can't be what? See-through. What makes a garment see-through? Fabric or color, perhaps, but more of the fabric. Everybody got this? So now our sister, she's covered everything on her body. It isn't see-through. It isn't tight. It isn't made to be an attraction and adornment, but she smells wonderful. The sweetest perfume you can think of and imagine she has on in abundance. That's acceptable or unacceptable? Based off of what we mentioned. No question, because we didn't say anything about a smell. They mentioned from those 7 continents is that it cannot have what? It can't have a smell on it. And that does not mean that she has to smell bad. That doesn't mean that if we have, and it's also going to be relative from person to person. This sister says, I perspire a lot, naturally. Naturally. Another sister says, I'm naturally hairy. I naturally have this smell, and so on and so forth. But we have another sister going deeper than that. That has a major insecurity with regards to, I think I smell. I think I smell. She has a complex. That's not the same as the sister who says, I don't sweat that much. Or I don't think I smell. So what? Huge difference. So, what type of soap you use, antiperspirant or not, deodorant, whatever movement you're on, natural, sulfur, silver. People have different madhabs, deodorant, okay, oil, this, lotion, things like that. These are basic things which you use to clean yourself and which you use to obtain and to maintain a certain fragrance or aroma and keep away that which is undesirable. That doesn't mean that you spray perfume all over your body. That doesn't mean that you drench and douse yourself in body wash before you leave the house. But it doesn't mean that a Muslim has to smell. It doesn't mean that. Everybody clear on this or not? Now, moving forward. Our sister, she's covered everything. You can't see anything on her. It's not tight. It's not attractive naturally. Nor does it have a smell of perfume and an aroma of perfume. Everybody clear on this or not? Many people, they say, can you use fabric softener? You can't use fabric softener because it's tayyib. Is that how the Prophet spoke? Is that what the Prophet intended? You can't use soap when you're in the state of ihram, they say. You can't use hand soap. Is that what's meant by tib? You have to use common sense with the text. Everybody needs to understand those texts. When a woman takes her clothes, she washes them, she uses fabric softener or starch. How much of that do you smell when she goes out the house? How close do you have to be with a sister to smell that? How attractive is the fabric softener of her clothes? Honestly. Now, name a famous perfume.
White diamond.
A white diamond. White diamond is the same as Downy or Snuggles?
No way.
White diamond is made to what?
Smell. Track.
The fabric softener is made to what?
Smell.
Maintain a freshness of the clothes. What the heck is that? Everybody doing this or not? So, she doesn't smell, it's not tight, it's not transparent, so on and so forth. But she's wearing the clothing of, this is going to be a bit difficult now, but especially in our American culture, but let's say, for argument's sake, she's dressed like let's say she's dressed, this is going to be a bit problematic. She's dressed like, she's dressed up like it's going to be difficult. It's going to be real difficult because it's a rock and a hard place now.
You don't want to go.
No, not even that. Not even deep like that. The concept of a man's garment. Garment that looks like a man's garment. What garment can you think of that's a man's garment? That's loose, that isn't transparent?
Like a hoodie?
Hoodie ain't loose like that.
Trench coat.
A thobe, that's not, we talking about our culture. Women wear trench coats. It's dangerous, huh? You can't say a judge, because they're women that are what? Supreme Court, etc.
Like a jumpsuit? Like a little jumper?
Jumpsuit ain't that loose. But let's say for argument's sake, like, even though that wouldn't be that good of an example, because of the concept of pants. You read the history of pants and why most religions and cultures didn't allow women to wear pants. There's a reason why. But for argument's sake, no problem. Sister doesn't weigh that much, and she has on a really loose jumpsuit. The jumpsuit transparent or not?
No.
Does it have perfume on it?
No.
Covers everything?
Yes.
Is it made to be an attraction? But the jumpsuit, when you see her, you think of a what?
Man.
Of a man. Shafan, the jumpsuit. It's not really what I wanted to mention. I wanted more like a gown type of thing. But when you see that sister from a distance, is that a man or a woman? A Carhartt jumpsuit, Dickie jumpsuit with an overall. In most cases, 9 out of 10 times, that jumpsuit has been suited and designed for who?
Man.
A man, in most cases. Now, obviously, 2018 is a bit different. We don't want to get into no politically incorrect statements, women's rights, this is that, so on and so forth. But everybody get the concept or not? You would be shocked, or maybe some years back, if you went into a garage, the mechanic was under a car, and he says, 1 second, slid from under the car, and it was a woman with long hair. How can I help you? Wiping the grease off her hands. Culturally, norm or not? You would expect it to be a what? With those boots and all, and the coveralls on. So the garment of the Muslim woman cannot be that which is specific to a man, and that which is made and designed for a man. This excludes what type of garments? Garments that are, no, excludes, not includes, excludes. Excludes what? Ahsant, exactly. It excludes a what garment? Unisex. Both. This is men's, and this is made for men. It excludes garments that are unisex. And it also excludes a garment which may have been originally for men, but it evolved into being for both, such as pants today. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, pants were exclusive to 2018, there are pants that are specifically tailored and made for who? Women. Wow, everybody got this or not? Everybody understand this? Last but not least, the conditions that I would like to mention. One may say, the clothing cannot be specific to that of sinful women. evil women, wicked women, such as what? What? No, what type of garment? Your brother came through with overgarment, huh?
Lingerie.
Can't be lingerie because that don't cover everything. Mini skirt. Bad example. We've implemented all the conditions already. Everybody stay with me. See, it was difficult like the last condition with the men. Loose. It's not transparent. It's not perfumed. It's not this, it's not that. That's difficult. What's a sundress? Sundress sheer, see-through. Bad example. Everybody got that? We mentioned that already. It can't be transparent. That would be a good example if it wasn't for that. What could be an example of this? Huh? Hot pants. What's a hot pants? I don't know what that is. What?
Daisy Duke show.
Like Daisy Dukes?
Yeah.
Okay, hot pants. Bad example because that doesn't what?
They don't cover everything.
That's done. And in most cases, it's going to be tight. That's done. That's
Like if you had a famous musician in one of, like say one of the Muslim countries, where she became famous and she was
perfect. Such as? Big piety, huh? So she had on a garment that was worn at a Super Bowl halftime show by Lady Gaga or Beyonce or somebody like this. And she became famous for this dress. The dress that she wore covered what? But what's the chances of it not being an attraction in itself? What are the chances? You see? I understand. It goes to show you there are certain things that are theoretical, but they aren't what? What's the chances of this horrible woman, sinful, evil woman, having on a loose, unperfumed, it just doesn't. See how hard the coverall thing was? This is even what? Harder. Everybody clear this or not? So therefore, we conclude, brothers and sisters, everyone understand the point I'm trying to get to? We conclude what? Is that there are, how many continents we said? 7. There's 7 continents. How did they discover that there were 7 continents? Research. Extensive or limited? How many people died in those trips and those journeys? Extensive research. And said there are only 7 continents. So therefore, in Islam, the conditions of a Muslim woman's garment are as we have just what? Stated. So therefore, did we say anything about a color? We never said a color. But if you're from a place and a time in which pink or orange or green or blue or red or this and that is considered a means of beauty and attraction.
I said we kind of did because you said if it's beautiful.
Beautiful is relative. That's relative. It's relative. I hate the color green, one may say. It's relative. Quran and Sunnah say green, yes or no? Different story. And even that, there are different levels of a color and a type. And color has never, ever, or never, in most cases, especially in the modern times, isn't specific to, or a concept isn't specific to another concept. Red can be a men's red, or a what? Women's red. Fuchsia. For everybody clear this, black. Saffron, but black is considered to be a basic, simple color, right? Huh? Tight, inshallah, we're working on that now. I'm so sorry. So let's make an example of this, how that won't work. Black. Perfect example. Women have to wear black. Why? They say because if she has on another color, then it's a zina. It's beauty, like you just said, and that's an attraction. And if it's an attraction, then we violated one of the what? Conditions. I'm going to ask a question, a frank question. What is one of the most common colors for lingerie?
Black.
Black. Without a question.
Red. I like black.
Everybody clear on this or not? This is an honest question. This is an honest question. This is an honest question. To prove that it isn't based off of the what?
Color.
The color by itself. But it's a combination. The color with the style, how it's cut, how it's made, etc.
How it make you look.
Everybody clear on this or not? So that's scientifically inaccurate to just say that it's just a what? A color. Unless we have what? Unless we have a what?
They said they can't hear you back.
This mic is not on. I'm so sorry.
It's on, turn it up.
It's as loud as I can talk. Can you hear now? There's something wrong. So I'm trying to prove a point, brothers and sisters, which is a crucial point. A crucial point. And this is a prime example of lack of understanding, lack of proper knowledge, and harshness. There, a brother says you can't wear red. You can't wear red, akhi, because red is a what? It's a woman's color. Clear. Then another brother said you have to wear all black, because black is in the color of what? Attraction. That sounds good to the naked mind and deen and dunya. But the example that I just brought you smashes all of that. A woman has on black and is a means of utter attraction to her husband. And a woman wears red and it's a means of what? She has on a red robe. She's sick. There's no attraction whatsoever. And then she has on solid black. But the fabric, the nature, the style is what? So in most cases in the Quran and the Sunnah, the color is always going to be attached to what? The style. I understand this is a crucially important point with regards to hijab. And the cultural norms and any other issue in Islam is that it's never just by itself. It's always going to be what? In most cases, if not all times, it's going to be what? To something else. Everybody clear in the Sunnah. Ahsant, mutasal, exactly. It's going to be that. Mutasal to something else, to another concept. Everybody got this or not? So with that being said, brothers and sisters, based off of the conditions that we've mentioned and laid down, we never got into any specifics of color. Nor did we get into specifics of what else, guys? Fabric. We never got into specifics of fabric. How about doing this? Unless your time and your place clearly show, or even just common sense, that this fabric sticks to the body, or is thin when the wind blows. Well, how can that? But the Quran and the Sunnah in general, they give us the general concepts. And from time to time, hadith to hadith, you'll find the Prophet saying, don't eat with your left hand. Don't do this, don't do that. But the main specifics of the meal is what? It's open. Eat bread, dates, olives, chicken, fish, whatever you want. As long as it isn't. And then there are hadiths from time to time that give specifics of what not to do or what to do. Such as not eating with the left hand, saying Bismillah. Everybody clear on this or not? So Islam has never ever been sent down as a punishment upon the people, ever. And the moment the people feel that it's a punishment and a wrath on them, what they're being taught is not Islam. And the same applies to Sunnah, Ilm, the way of the Salaf al-Salih, etc. Islam has never been made to punish the people. Allah doesn't want to punish the people. Allah wants the slaves to be better. He wishes to reward them, to bless them by refining them, by putting guidelines on things and not leaving them totally open. So this is what has exactly happened to us in America, on the East Coast, for many years, and it's going to keep happening until you make a difference and a change. It's not going to be one person. There's no savior. You're still Christian. You believe it's some savior that's going to come from the sky and change everything tomorrow. Do we believe this? You, by Allah's permission, have to make that difference by learning and practicing and propagating, as we said. The basic principles, the basic things. Thinking critically, learning, studying, and then when you learn certain things, and you have basic things, you won't accept everything that's given to you, no matter how beautiful of a platter it is. Everybody clear on this or not? Basic awareness. Everyone doesn't have to be a scholar. Everyone doesn't have to be Ibn Taymiyyah ibn Qayyim in Elizabeth, New Jersey. But every Muslim has to have some basic principles of Ibn Taymiyyah ibn Qayyim. Not to accept this clown, this joker, and this one and that one, bamboozled and hoodwinked. And that's what has happened, and it will what? Continue to happen until you yourself refuse to accept everything and anything. Everybody clear on this or not? Islam is never a means of punishment upon the people. Human beings are punishment upon the people. They mask their ignorance, their desires, their ulterior motives through Islam and other names. But the pure deen and its organic, orthodox understanding is a taste that is unforgettably sweet. And no one will turn away from it willingly. So with that being said, I think that it's pretty clear with regards to culture, tradition, Islam, what you can and cannot wear. As far as if there's an issue of a difference of opinion, or the husband and wife differ, or the sisters differ, then take it back to the closest way you can get to Quran and Sunnah. The closest that you can get. And if the people don't agree, the sister said, I can wear a long shirt and my pants are loose. My pants are loose. They're not this color, they're not that, so on and so forth. That's your view. Can't force mine on yours. I'm going to wear a full overgarment down to my feet. The sister says I have on a very, very, very long shirt to my shins and my pants are loose. And that's her understanding, and she has the ability to make that understanding. I can't force my view upon you. You're not welcome in my masjid. You can't come into my masjid. You can't sit in my classes. I'm going to say this about you. No, I'm not going to do that. If a brother comes up to me and he says, Munir, what is the ruling on wearing the pants above the ankles? I would tell him it's mandatory. It's wajib. And it's haram to have them beneath the ankles. That's what I'm going to tell him. But he goes to someone else, or he's learned from his country, is that this scholar or these scholars said that it isn't obligatory. As long as you don't do it out of pride and arrogance, it's nothing wrong with having your pants beneath ankles. It's bad, it's not haram, unless you do it out of pride and arrogance. If that's his understanding, and he has great ulama who preceded him in that, I can't force my reservation on him. And if he comes into my masjid, he comes to sit in my class, and his pants are beneath his ankles, I'm not going to say, get out. You can't sit in my class. You can't be a part of my class because you don't follow me to the T in every view. And that's also what has happened to us. And that's caused a great deal of harm. What's the ruling on wearing a niqab? What's the ruling on wearing gloves? I say, as an example, mandatory. That doesn't mean that a sister that doesn't cover her face feels unwelcome in my masjid. It doesn't mean that a brother who doesn't have a beard feels unwelcome in my masjid. If he wanted to know the rule of the beard, I say it's haram to shave. I would advise him not to shave. I would give a class about the beard. I would spread the sunnah to him. But I will not come with a mallet and hit him upside his head. Ask him, how many lumps do you want? I wouldn't do that. And that's not Islam. That's not Islam. You can't force faith into anyone's heart. You can clarify, you can explain, you can love for Allah, you can hate for Allah. But you can't force anyone to accept and be convinced. And perhaps through patience, through gentleness, through strong teaching and knowledge, Allah will open up his heart and he will throw away the razors. And no one will ever change his view with regards to the beard. But I can't force him. But my teachings remain what? Clear as day. Beard is haram. Shaving the beard, I consider to be a major sin. Brother without a beard who comes up to me after the khutbah, Jazakallah khairan, he gives me a hug, Ramadan Mubarak, it's my brother in Islam. If I give him advice, if he asks me a question, that's a what? Totally different story. And the same applies to hijab. Kicking a sister out of the masjid, making her feel unwelcome. Last but not least is the concept of hijab with horrible character. Cursing, backbiting, smoking. She said what? Plucking the corner of the bag. Allah musta'an. Can't plug the corner of the bag with a Everybody understand this? This is a reality. So just like you're conscious to have the hijab on the outside, you have to be conscious to have the hijab on the inside. Your character has to be covered. Your bad, evil traits have to be covered. Just like your beauty is covered. And Islam is a religion for both. For outside and for inside. But we live in a time in which one act of extremism causes another act of extremism. Because the sister was smoking a blunt with a niqab lift up. Because I saw her smoking weed in all black, now I'm not going to what? Or hijab at all. All sisters are fake that dress like that because this one and that one. That's not true. That's inaccurate. There are sisters that wear hijab and are pious. And there are sisters, unfortunately, just like their brothers have big beards, and they are so pious. So what the next man is doing, next man's mistake, it should not force you and push you to what? Into doing that. And this is what happens overseas. I don't want to wear a beard because all people have beards, they're munafiqeen. They beat their wives. They do this, they do that. And they have big beards and short thobes. So I don't want to wear it. That's wrong. And that's a side of extremism that we face. Same pertains to knowledge. because these people talk about this and this and this and that, I don't do anything, I say anything that they do. That's wrong. The sunnah is the sunnah, whether they're doing it or what, or not. Everybody or not. But it is a reality. And human beings, they are creatures of what? Of their habit and their environment. So you have to be mindful, sister. If you're going to wear hijab, and you're going to wear niqab, and you're going to dress and try to implement the sunnah and do what's proper based off of the knowledge, it's your job to fight your character and your bad character as well. Just like you don't go outside unless you put these things on, I don't go outside until I leave my anger in the house, and leave my ego in the house, leave my nasty backbiting in the house, leave my bad character looking down upon my sister. Leave that. Just like you leave the tight clothes in the house. What heck is that? It doesn't make sense to only focus on the outside and neglect. Just like it doesn't make sense to say the inside and neglect the, rather they're both manifestations of each other. It's like two mirrors, what? Facing each other, back to back. The inside is manifested on the outside, and the outside is a manifestation of the inside. They're just as important. Everyone understand this? So sisters must have good character. Sisters should be kind. They should be merciful. And they should deal with their sisters in the masjid, outside the masjid, how they like to be dealt with by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You weren't always a Muslim. You have tattoos. 3 or 4 of them. You used to be a non-Muslim woman. You wore tight clothes. You wore this, you wore that. You had boyfriends. Did Allah take your soul in that state? Allah didn't take your soul in that state. You accepted Islam. You took your shahada. You learned about tawheed. You learned about purification of the soul. You became a Muslim. And Allah was patient with you. Allah was merciful with you. And Allah was kind with you. And Allah was forbearing upon your ignorance. La ahad asbar min Allah. The Prophet says, no one is more patient than Allah. So now you come to the deen, you learn about something, you go to a conference, a seminar, every sister's going to the hellfire. Every sister's a deviant. Every sister's this, every sister's that. You have on green, you have on blue, you have on brown, this and that. No, don't do that. If they're doing something that's wrong, that you know is wrong, based off of what we explained, not culture, the dalil, give them advice. Be patient with them, be merciful with them, as Allah was what? Merciful with you. When Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, when she was slandered by the hypocrites, and when some of the Sahaba who weren't hypocrites, some of them fell into listening to the story, or maybe passing it on, or not rejecting it, not slandering the Prophet's wife. They would never do that. They loved the Prophet too much to do that. They left their homes and their family to slander his wife. But maybe listening to the gossip, and not rejecting it, not making him caught upon the gossip. Look how beautiful this is. The father of Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he swore, he said that anyone who not slandered my daughter, but who annoyed and harmed my friend, Muhammad, I won't give them any money. I won't spend upon them. I won't give any sadaqah to my family members and my relatives, my kinsfolk. That's what he said. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He disciplined Abu Bakr. وَلَا يَأْتَلِ أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ. Allah says, and those who have affluency and abundant wealth should not refrain from spending on their kinsfolk. فَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا. Allah says, let them ya'fu, pardon, وَلْيَصْفَحُوا. And the word yasfahu comes from safhatul unuq, the side of a person's neck, meaning what? Forget about it. Forgive and forbear. It's over. أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah says, don't you love for Allah to forgive you? And Allah is oft-forgiving, most merciful. Read chapter 24 and read the tafsir of chapter 24. Surah Nur, you'll find this. I'm not making this up. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, don't do that, Abu Bakr. And anyone else who made that statement, why can't you? Did they not annoy the Prophet? Did they not harm the Prophet? Did they not do something that was wrong by listening to the munafiqeen and allowing the gossip or whatever? Did they not? But Allah says, don't do that because of one reason and one reason only. Because what? You love for Allah to what? Be kind to you. So treat people as you wish Allah to treat you. So that's my advice. With regards to hijab or any other issue, beard, pants, isbal, sutra, whatever the issue is. Think about when you were lost, when you were misguided, when you didn't know, and how Allah was patient with you. And let alone how the human beings were also patient with you. You couldn't read like this before. Your teacher was what? He's patient with you. He didn't kick you out the class. Now you've grown strong. You have any student that can't read? Get out. Nah. So that's all I want to say. May Allah Azza wa Jalla bless you all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your fast. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow you to all live and die as Muslims. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give you all and give us all the proper understanding of the religion. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us firm thereupon. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and grant us the gift of fiqh fi din, understanding of religion. Ameen. And may Allah Azza wa Jalla bless us and grant us the gift of being firm thereupon until we meet Him. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad. Last but not least, as we do all the time, I thank all of the brothers and sisters who are part of organizing this meeting. All of the brothers and sisters who are part of it, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you well. Those, if I mention you by name, I don't mention you by name. Those who came, those who attended, those who listened, those who participated. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.